You always played beyond the sum of your parts. When was the last time that a U.S. national team, not just under Pochettino, but previously, when's the last time the national team has played beyond the sum of its parts?
Unfiltered Soccer with Landon and Tim, presented by Volkswagen. Volkswagen has long been a supporter of soccer in America and has proudly been a partner of U.S. Soccer for over 5 years.
LD, my guy, what's happening?
Hello.
You see, I've got a different backdrop today. I'm at my place in Knoxville, Tennessee. I was down here watching some Lady Vols soccer. I was watching the Vols beat up on Eastern Tennessee State University. It was in the 70s or something. I would have taken the over no matter what it was. It was wild. But it was cool. It's cool to go to Neyland Stadium and see it and hang out.
You know, you can they have these things called interior decorators, and they'll come in and they'll make your apartment or house look like it's real livable.
It's beautiful. It's just just nice, clean
just
colors.
That white back. What is that in the back? A white white picture?
It's a plain canvas, and then when you get inspired, you paint on it.
No way. That's so stupid. Hey, do you like my jersey?
Yeah. Which one is that?
Last week I said I went into the closet back there and found.
That's actually yours.
Yeah.
Does it stink? Do you wash it or dry clean it?
Look.
That's amazing.
No, but it took me a long time to steam this thing. It was wrinkled.
Wait, where is that from?
Isn't it beautiful?
I don't remember.
I don't remember the exact.
Oh,
it's got that no tread on me thing.
Is that
don't tread on me thing?
2006?
Could be. I love this. Is by far my favorite jersey.
Good for you.
It's cool, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. All right.
It's amazing. We have a really good, fun, interesting
guest today,
which we're pumped about. And we'll intro him in a few, but we've got to dig in to this U.S. men's national team performance against South Korea. And where do you want to start? What's the jump off point? Because we've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of comments, questions, and concerns. So,
we have to start. So Jordan and Andrew, don't kill me. Make sure you guys follow us. Social media at Unfiltered Soccer and subscribe. Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And then, as always, guessing there's a lot of questions in Jordan's mailbag. Feedback at unfilteredsoccer.com. Okay. US 0, South Korea 2 at Sports Illustrated Stadium in Harrison, New Jersey.
Jersey, stand up.
Just shout out to our guy, Michael Bradley, who was honored this weekend before the game. And a shout out to US Soccer for honoring him. Phenomenal career. And it was really special for his family. His dad and mom were there. His grandparents were there. Yeah. Really cool. So,
and the interesting thing is, you have to say, probably the best leader that U.S. Soccer has ever seen. A guy who didn't care about having tough conversations. He had hard knockdown, drag-out conversations with his best friends, me and you, other people, led by example, was always there, never took shortcuts. I mean, the guy will never get enough credit. And I told him on the day, take your flowers and enjoy it. We don't do that enough as players. We put it on the shelf when we move forward, but accept the adulation and adoration because he's one of the best to do it.
Amen. Congrats to you, Mikey. Okay. So we'll go all over the place. Let's just start big picture. So now that is 6 losses and 5 wins in the last 11 games for the U.S. I was texting our group chat. When was the last time that happened? And by the way, one of those wins, in quotes, was against Costa Rica, which was a tie in the Gold Cup, but we won in penalties.
Okay.
The last time that happened, we went back and Andrew found for us, was 2014, right after the World Cup. I don't have all the opponents in front of us, but it was like Colombia, Brazil. It was good opponents, right? It was not Haiti and Saudi Arabia and Jamaica and Panama. So anyway, we're always trying to spin this somewhat positively and optimistically, but we have to be real, man. Like, we have to be honest. If this happened in a vacuum, played well, maybe could have, should have won the game against South Korea, fine. But on the back of everything else that's going on, Paul Carr tweeted on Twitter, we've now lost 5 straight games versus FIFA top 25 teams by a combined 11-1 goals against. We're winless now in 7 straight such games, getting outscored 17-3. This one blew my mind. Excluding Mexico, the last U.S. win versus a top 25 team was at the 2022 World Cup. And by the way, that top 25 amazing, strong team was Iran, right? It wasn't like Brazil or whatever.
Sure.
So anyway, just go ahead. We'll just start there and then we'll dig in.
Yeah, look, I'm the same as you. There's an optimism around this team because there's a World Cup and it's coming to our country, and we just simply, as soccer fans, get excited. But when you begin to dissect some of these numbers and stats, there's not a ton to get excited about. And I came after the game, as we do. We think about what was good, what was bad, all the different things. And I said to a friend, I said, when a team loses 2-0, don't really talk about the team who lost. I talk about the team who won. But in this instance, because it's who we are and what we do, we're gonna talk about it. But there's something with this team that they don't have. I don't know, the moxie. They don't have something to win the big games. That's not an opinion. That's what they're showing us. And
well, this is just a middle game.
Yeah.
It's not a big game, right? Go ahead.
Right. And so much of this exercise of build up to the World Cup, sometimes we pick the bones out of it too much, or sometimes it's fluff, but ultimately the World Cup is about winning big games. It's about navigating, not always winning, but navigating your way through difficult moments. I mean, if you look back on all your World Cups and all my World Cups, I would say the one takeaway was, how do we get through difficult moments? One, how do we persevere in difficult moments? And if you can't persevere, how the hell do you hang on for dear life, right? Like, that's essentially what we do. And this team just hasn't really quite shown the ability to do that in the bigger games. In the bigger games, I'm gonna, I'll blanket that by just saying top 25 teams in the world, right? The teams that are really gonna matter. They haven't shown that ability. So.
And what is that, Tim? Like, it's easy for us to say because that is the truth.
Yeah.
But what is it? And I have some theories, and like, I want to hear what is that?
Again, there's a collective togetherness that I'm not on the inside. I'm not having those tough conversations in the locker room. I don't know if there's enough of a nastiness about this team. And let's face it, this. Beautiful, the best teams in the world that play beautiful football, name them. Brazil, Barcelona, Argentina, Man City. There's a nastiness about those teams, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Forget the passing and intricate moves and the Pep Guardiola tactics. There's a nastiness about those teams. And certain players have that, but collectively, I don't think we do. And I think that has to be a foundation of your group. I don't know if the quality is there top to bottom. I love, this is going to be an overriding theme in this conversation and others going forward. I love our best team. So if you're saying what's our best team, I could name it. I could say these are the best players positionally that I want to see on the field. I love our best team. The problem is, and this is what some of the proponents would say, is we haven't had our best team together, right? To see how they perform in multiple big games. I would agree with that. That's a problem, that we haven't had our best players together for various reasons. I think it's unacceptable that U.S. Soccer hasn't demanded that we have our best players together, to give the guy that you've given $6 million to the best opportunity to win. And so that's a problem. Your take?
Yeah, and some of that is out of Pochettino's control.
Correct.
In U.S. with injuries, et cetera.
Correct.
But a lot of it's not, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there have been moments, from Pochettino's first real game in March of last year, to have the full team together, and they've not. Now, in his defense, because he hasn't lived and breathed it here his whole life, he has no idea who some of these players are, right? I can promise you, whenever he took this job a year and a half ago, he had no idea who Sebastian Berhalter was, right? And no disrespect to Sebastian, but he just didn't, right? He had no idea. And so he's learning along the way. I want to go back to something, Tim, you said, and I thought this was, I don't know when you said it on the pod, but it was so profound, and I'd never thought about this way. After the 2018 failure to qualify for the World Cup, you said U.S. Soccer made a decision that basically all of you guys were old, couldn't cut it anymore, and it was just out the window.
It was an optics thing, yeah.
And we're just going to bring in all young players and let them grow and develop.
Yeah.
On the surface, in theory, you're like, okay, I can see that. Like, we need a reboot. We got to shift everything, change the momentum, get people excited again. I get it. But what happened was massive void in leadership. And when I was coaching for a while, you realize quickly that when a team has a void in leadership, chaos ensues. Or anybody, think about countries around the world. When there's a void in leadership, chaos ensues. And there was a void in leadership. Now, I'm not talking about the coach, Berhalter, necessarily. I'm talking about the players. And so when you have, Christian and Tyler and Weston and Serginho and these guys, they're like 21 years old.
Sure.
Gio Reyna's 18.
Of course.
They had no guidance.
The blind leading the blind.
Totally. And it's not their fault because they didn't know.
That's why I hang so much. This is why I hang so much of this on U.S. Soccer. They have to answer a lot of questions.
Right. And look, I really do hope, Tim, that we don't have another reckoning like this in 26 next year. But I think it could happen, right? It's definitely a possibility. And I just hope you learn from that and don't throw everything out the window. And what happened was when I was 20, going into my World Cup year, or even before that, 19 and 18.
Sure.
When I went to camp, Greg Berhalter was there. Jeff Agus was there. Eddie Pope was there. Pablo Mastroeni. These guys kicked the shit out of me, dude.
Yeah.
And if I, in any way, started to float away with my ego, they were like, not happening. And they put me back in my place. This group has had none of that. They've had nobody hold them accountable internally, not coaches, not internally. And it's become a problem. And so there's a void of leadership. There is. Tim Ream's great, but I think he's a little more quiet and passive. And some guys are showing some of that. Chris Richards is starting to show a little bit, but there's just a void of that. And when, to your point, when you get into these hard games, you need that.
Yeah,
you need that.
And that's kind of where my optimism lies. Is I'm looking at Chris Richards, I'm looking at Tyler Adams, and I'm saying, I know. On a weekly basis, as a matter of fact, they're having some hard conversations, man. Their training sessions ain't easy. They're being held to account
at their club teams.
At their club team, and they're holding others to account.
For sure.
My hope then is that they see the writing on the wall, which we're all seeing, and they just go, F it. When I get this World Cup means everything to me, and I'm not here any longer to have friends. I'm not here any longer to say the right things in the press. I'm here to hold guys accountable because I know those two guys in particular and others, but those two guys in particular, I'm looking at and I'm thinking they fill me with confidence. Those are guys who I think are leaders who can push this team forward. There are other leaders out there, but sometimes you need help to lead. And I think that they can help that process because look, in the game against South Korea, we were pretty good. I mean, the stats say, if you're a stat person, the stats say, and many people certainly within U.S. Soccer will put that to the forefront and make sure you read that first. The stats say we were pretty good. We were better in a bunch of areas. Shots on goal. I think our XG, which I'm not a firm believer in XG, but XG was higher, I believe.
Can I just stop you though? But who cares?
I'm trying to paint a picture here.
Because there's lots of games we weren't better, quote, better than a team.
But my point is, then why, if we're better in the overall, let's call it stat sheet performance, what then is missing? And you and I would agree, it's the clinical nature. It's the ability to not just create chances, but control moments in and around the final third. And we weren't clinical. We missed the chances we needed to, score or get back into the game, right? Because ultimately, even if we scored our best chances, you're still looking at a 2-2 game-ish.
Right.
So go ahead.
So a couple things here. One, as it pertains to, just real quick touching on that leadership thing. I read this fantastic article in The Athletic this week about what happened in the Chiefs game. And for people who didn't watch, Chiefs played the Chargers Friday night. Basically the last play of the game. The Chargers have the ball. They're winning. The Chiefs are trying to get the ball back. It's third down. This player, Chris Jones for the Chiefs, who's a really good defensive player, one of the best in the league, he kind of went on his own and went inside his defender and allowed Justin Herbert, the Chiefs quarterback, to run outside and run for like 20 yards and get a first down, which then killed the clock and ended the game. And right after that, when they're in the huddle, there's a guy named Drew Tranquill for the Chiefs who was literally yelling at Chris Jones, one of the best defensive players in the game, saying, dude, your assignment was to stay outside so he wouldn't run there.
Yeah.
And you came inside instead and allowed him to do it. And they were going at each other.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, when was the last time you saw American players yelling at each other on the field? Right? Yeah. And by the way, this is the however many times Super Bowl champion, 3. This is why they win. Because when you don't do your job, you hear about it. Yeah. Right. So it was a fantastic article and it made me think about that. The other thing is, to your point with like the clinical finishing. So South Korea get maybe 2 or 3 chances in the game.
Yeah.
And it's 2 goals. Right. And the difference, and I said this to you and I was just thinking about this, difference between their best player, Son, he gets his one chance and buries it.
Yep.
And then he gets another chance and he has the composure and calmness to roll it to the middle. And the guy back heels in, which, is pretty embarrassing to get scored on that way. And then you think about, he's 33 years old. He's at the end of his career. Our best player is Christian, most talented. And if you just look at the levels of them, you could say, somewhat similar. Son's probably had a little bit better of a career. But that's where we are. So when people are saying, why are we not this, that, this is the 23rd ranked team in the world, South Korea. This is not a top 10 team. And Son is still, you could say, as good as or marginally better than Christian, our best player, right? And so that is just where we are. And I hate to say it that bluntly, but we have to be honest. That is where we are.
And by the way, it's reality. And just, I know the U.S. players think we pick on them, but to your point about the Kansas City Chiefs and Jones and Tranquill having to go at each other, we at NBC said the same thing. There was I think Manchester United played Fulham, and we talked about leadership and the lack of leadership at Manchester United. And Emil Smith-Rowe runs off the back of Bruno Fernandes and taps it in to make it 1-1 at the death. And he's the captain, I know. Not a single Man United player had a go at him, threw their fist at him, yelled at him, track your runner. I mean, by the way, this isn't like I'm trying to be someone's friend. You're telling a teammate to track a runner. Not one of them said that. And that was a microcosm of they lack leadership. So as much as Manchester United are trying to get better and trying to buy and sell players, they lack leadership. And that was a perfect example of it. So it happens. It's obvious when it happens other places. So it's not just the U.S. team, but the point is they need to step up. Certain players within that team need to step up and be counted and stand out because, by the way, you will stand out in a very good, positive way. But so to your point, the clinical nature, which leads us to the striker position, right? This has been a relative problem for a number of years. I don't know the number of years, but
it's basically since Josie was done, right? I mean, if you really like a guy who you could say was really the guy, and Clint and I were like different players, but just like a true
striker.
Yeah.
And Josh Sargent got his opportunity. Started. I'm still. Golazzo America put out a post and it compared Josh Sargent to Flo Balogun, and the Flo had 5 more touches in like
a third of the minutes, right?
Yeah, third of the minutes, and touches in opposition box. Flo had 11, Sargent had 1. The chances created are all favored to Balogun in his 28 minutes he played versus Sargent, who played 62 minutes. I'm still a believer. I'm still a believer that Josh Sargent can do it at this level. He hasn't quite done it. The end of the game is a little bit different. We're down 2-0. We're throwing numbers forward, we're taking more risks. I get that. And look, Flo's a good striker. I think on our best day when everyone's fit, he's the number 1 striker. It's just disappointing that Josh Sargent wasn't able to show in that game because what it comes down to is scoring or not scoring. I know it sucks. So in 62 minutes, he didn't score, and now people are basically saying, like, Can he do it? I do. I think he can. Where does he rank in the pecking order? I'm not quite sure. But it does show that we need a healthy Flo Balogun.
He is. I think he's better, no question. These stats are so skewed. Flo's better than Josh. These stats are so skewed, though. Yep. The game state matters. We're down 2-0. South Korea had subbed basically all their players off the field.
Sure.
It's totally different. And majority of those big moments came in one action where he had 2 shots and then he hit the crossbar, right? So he is better. I'm just saying these stats.
No, I agree with you.
If they had flipped one starter, they would be relatively similar. I still think Flo, the stats would favor Flo, but but he is better. So he needs to be on the field, and I think Pochettino knows that now. Josh Sargent, I think it's like 17 games now for the U.S. he's gone without scoring. There's just some mental block. That's tough. There. He scores every time he touches the ball for Norwich. It's crazy. And so I like him. There are just some guys who just they're just not national team level all the time, or maybe they are in friendlies and CONCACAF Gold Cup, but it's just there's levels to these things, right?
So you think Flo will start?
He has to.
Yeah,
he has to start against Japan. Yeah, he has
to.
Some of the quotes after were interesting, so we can get into the Pochettino quotes after. But I thought it was interesting. Tim Ream and Tyler Adams both had things to say, and I'm going to say the same thing I always say. It's great that they say these things publicly. Are they saying it in the locker room? From what I hear and understand, they're not. And so at some point, I hope, to your point, they'll say it in the locker room. But Tim Ream said, there were moments where guys were getting pulled out a little bit more than we usually do and a little bit more than we work on. And again, it's one of those things that you look at a few guys who it's their first game back with the national team. Tristan Blackman, it's his very first game, first cap, so it was bound to happen a little bit. It's like he knew it. I think a little bit of eagerness to try to get to areas that maybe necessarily we couldn't get to, and then I'm gonna give the Tyler Adams, and then you're gonna tell people what they're really saying. I think our roles got a little bit twisted. They found solutions pretty easily in the first half. We talked about it at halftime, and I think we just missed our defensive triggers on a lot of them, and we were a little bit too late to jump. And when you're too late to jump, you end up chasing shadows, and that's what it felt like at times.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing about Tyler is an aggressive. He's an aggressive player by nature in his actions, in his mentality. He feeds off aggression, and you can even see that in the midfield. Sometimes he'll do someone else's job because he's just like, he's fed up with the guy not doing their own job. So I like that. But I also think what Tyler is saying is that there's not enough guys around him being proactive, right? Like getting to the ball, running through the tackle. That's what Tyler Adams does. So if you ever watch him, because of how he was brought up and in the Red Bull system, he runs through tackles, right? So it's not, let me get up to the ball and just jockey. It's run through the tackle, next ball, right? And so that's a mindset, and he has those triggers. Guys around him necessarily don't. So he's right. With the Tristan Blackman thing, it's you get your first cap, and this is kind of my gripe overall, right? You get your first cap. This guy's not playing in the World Cup. Like, he's not.
Zero chance.
Right, and that's not a knock on anybody, by the way. He's
had a great career. He's having a great season, great few seasons.
Bring him into camp and say, we've got 2 games. You've done really well. If there's a moment in the 80th minute, in the 75th minute, in one of these games, I'm going to bring you on and we'll celebrate you. But this is like lineups and pairings and matchups and partnerships. Like, as of right now, all we know, like, we don't know a lot. We know it's going to be Chris Richards and Tim Ream, right? For the most part. If you had $5 to bet to start the first game of the World Cup, that's going to be your center back pairing. Why would we waste an opportunity against a good team? By the way, that's what we want, right? We want Chris Richards and Tim Ream to get competition, to be able to, because they're a good pairing. Why would we experiment like that? Why would we experiment with that?
Tim, after that, we have no clue who's next. Tell me who's next in line if they play in the World Cup and one of them gets hurt.
I don't know.
No clue. Yeah. I don't know. Is it McKenzie? Is it Cameron Carter-Vickers? Is it? I have no idea. I don't know who's next. And so whoever is next, bring them in. It's definitely not Tristan Blackman.
No, correct.
And Pochettino has to know that.
Of course. Yeah, right? He does.
And to your point, man, there is so much value in pairings and relationships. There's so much value in that.
That's all the soccer field is partnerships.
That's it. It's if you break it down, it's 2 and 3 people together playing in a certain part of the field. It is. And so If Sebastian Berhalter's going to be next to Luca De La Torre or Tyler Adams, great. Play him every game till the World Cup. You decide. This gets back to my point, and I'm going to beat this drum. Why the hell is Aiden Morris not here?
Mm-hmm.
That guy would have helped us last night.
Yeah.
Or the other night. There's no question. No disrespect to Berhalter, De La Torre. He's better. Yeah. He's a better player, and he should be in. I want to get to Pochettino's messages after the game, and he was trying to spin it positively, which I understand. I totally get. He said, overall, we were better than South Korea, but if you're not clinical, which you said, in your own penalty area, in the opponent's opposition box, it's difficult. We created more chances, and we had the feeling that we controlled the game. I think we were better. Disappointed, of course. I'm very disappointed about the result, but I think it was a massive improvement. And then he said, my message to the fans is that we're going to arrive at the World Cup in the best condition, and we're going to be difficult to defeat. I'm going to dissect that one in a minute. They, the fans, need to believe. You're not giving us much to believe in. We're trying, man. The message is they need to believe. The important thing is at the start of the World Cup, we need to have everyone who's going to be on the roster in their best condition.
Yeah.
So
totally agree.
Tell the fans now what's being said there.
Well, I totally agree. We need to have our best players present when the World Cup comes. And actually, if I'm being brutally honest with you, LD, I think when we get 45 minutes before kickoff of the first World Cup game, I think we're going to have our best players on. Like I could probably name 8 of the starting 11, right? Here's the problem. You got to be the most badass riverboat gambler betting with house money to roll those dice, because that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's basically saying, I ain't had my best team together. I've had injuries. I've had people who need rest. I've done some experimenting. But when we get to that World Cup, I'm going to have my best team. And I believe him. Here's the problem. I don't know what that best team can do. And not a single soul in America who watches and supports this team has any idea what our best team can do, because I'm saying to you, I like our best team. I'm going to feel ridiculously overconfident when they walk out and I hear that anthem and I see Christian Pulisic, Weah, Richards, Tyler Adams, possibly Weston McKennie, ... right? I'm going to look out there and go, we're going to do some things today. But I don't know that because I have zero proof of it. Zero proof. Because we haven't had our best team together. And again, someone's not going to let me into the next U.S. game, but U.S. Soccer, I think, has done a poor job of getting Pochettino, the man they're giving $6 million to, his best team as often as possible. Now, they'll tell me their hands are tied, and I'm saying as a soccer person who's been in big, difficult conversations in boardrooms and other places across the world, they haven't done a good enough job getting Pochettino his best players and having them available.
And if I'm Pochettino, at some point I say, I don't care about being nice. I don't care about helping your club team. I don't care. I heard some whispers that like Chris Richards was nursing a little bit of an injury, and so they were being careful about the Korea game. It's like, no, man, we're all nursing injuries, right? We're all, if you are healthy enough to play, get on the field, play him with Tim Ream every time. If that's your pairing, every time to the World Cup, get continuity, get the people in front of him who are going to be playing there, get the goalie behind him who's going to be playing there.
Well, yeah, my worry is, and again, this is what we've talked about. Look, performance is good. This performance, I'll give him that. I'll give Poch that. Like it was pretty good. The stats showed that, but the performance wasn't there. And again, and Tyler Adams mentioned it in something he said after the game. Like at a certain point, winning matters. Okay, a certain point, winning matters, and I worry because I said this last week. The optics. This World Cup is coming in a couple months, for crying out loud. So in the September friendlies, there's a possibility we go 0-2.
Well, Japan's better than Korea, by the way.
Japan's better than Korea. That then piles more pressure onto October.
Yeah.
Hell, did they just announce the November friendlies?
Yeah, I think it's Paraguay and Uruguay. Not easy, by the way.
Jesus, right? So like, we got to win some games.
I know.
And these are decent games.
Well, this is coming out Tuesday, so either before you're going to listen to this before or after the Japan game, we are going to have a live podcast, live stream on Wednesday so that we can dissect the Tuesday Japan game. So hopefully there will be some answers. I hope there's not more questions than answers. I'm not optimistic, but
this live stream could be unhinged. People could be throwing haymakers over the top. By the way, if this goes pear-shaped, so I'm praying.
Let's hope not.
I'm praying for a good result.
Yeah, let's hope not. I think Chris Richards will be in. I think Flo Balogun will be in. We just need a good response and a good performance and a result. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we have a fantastic guest, Timmy. We're really, really, really excited about American soccer's top soccer reporter and newsbreaker, Tom Bogert. If you don't know of him, you're going to learn a lot about him and know a lot about him after this. He's fantastic, and we're excited to talk to him. So stay right there. Unfiltered Soccer with Landon and Tim, as always, presented by Volkswagen.
The Unfiltered Soccer podcast is brought to you by Volkswagen, the presenting partner of U.S. Soccer.
As the U.S. gets ready to host the world for soccer's biggest moment, Volkswagen is helping people discover new turfs and new ways to play the beautiful game right here in the U.S.
From deaf and power wheelchair soccer to beach and futsal, VW is actively supporting all the communities and teams within the U.S. soccer ecosystem. They've signed U.S. soccer talent from across the portfolio of the Federation and will be helping to give these less popular forms of soccer a platform moving forward.
As a longtime friend of Volkswagen, I'm excited to support them in their mission to increase visibility of all forms of soccer. I was recently on set with them shooting their new campaign to do just that.
Keep an eye out for that launching soon, alongside the all-new redesigned 2025 Tiguan. It's a beautiful car. We've even had one with us at our recent live show. Make sure to check it out in person and learn more at VW.com. There's a certain energy to soccer in Latin America. The footwork, the creativity, the passion from fans. It's more than a sport. It's a rhythm. That same spirit shows up in Café Bustelo. Bold, vibrant, smooth. Turn up the Latin flavor Café Bustelo has been bringing for generations. You can't miss this iconic staple anywhere. From the bodega to your local grocery store, they are everywhere. And now there's even more to love. They released a whole new line of roasts to match every mood. Light roast, medium, dark, and dulce de leche. Each one with its own vibe. Available in pre-packed bags and K-Cup pods. Delicious hot or iced. However you take your coffee, Café Bustelo shows up strong. I like mine black, strong, every afternoon. Café Bustelo is more than coffee. It makes you feel alive. Try the new Café Bustelo roasts today.
All right, Timmy, this episode is brought to you by our friends at Virgin Atlantic.
Yeah, we're here at the Virgin Atlantic Clubhouse at JFK. Honestly, it makes you rethink what an airport lounge can be.
It's beautiful. It's what Virgin does. They've been bringing joy back to flying since day one.
It starts with the people. The crew makes you feel seen. You're not just seat 31A. And the planes, comfy seats, mood lighting, fresh new plane smell, and hours of the best entertainment.
Yeah, I know you travel back and forth across the pond all the time. The food's amazing, all the little amenities. They have their mile-high tea if you want tea at 35,000 feet. You can have the jam, the scones, the finger sandwiches, all the things that you loved about British times when you were playing.
Yeah, and speaking of the food, you can pre-order your meal before you fly. I'm not just talking about the chicken or the fish. I had the Thai curry last time, and it was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, everything's been thought through. It's flying the way you wish it always was.
So if you're headed to the UK soon, do it in style. After the pod, go to virginatlantic.com to learn more about their amazing experience. LD, I'm super excited to introduce today's guest because I have questions and he has answers. That's why I'm excited. He's the preeminent reporter and newsbreaker in American soccer today. You can see him at Give Me Sport, Soccer-Wise, and CBS Sports. More importantly, as far as I'm concerned, he's coming to us live and direct from the Jersey Shore. And anybody who knows me knows the Jersey Shore is dear to my heart. The one and only Tom Bogert. Tom, how are you?
I'm pretty good. And Tim, I always love to hear that. I knew that I was hoping that I was going to get the friendly New Jersey welcome from you. I figured that Landon was going to have to take a back seat on that one.
Always. Landon will give us so much crap for being from Jersey, but it's what it is. Go ahead, LD. Chime in. I'm sure you will.
He just said he's from a place called Brick, New Jersey, which is like the most New Jersey,
everything.
The most New Jersey thing ever. All right, Tom, I'm like really fascinated. And for the record, And so if this interview goes well and I get the credit, I said to these guys, we need to have Tom on, because you have, in my sort of mind, come out of nowhere. But I'm also not in the social media sphere all the time. So, and you've become a very relevant part of the soccer landscape here. And there's two parts to what you do, and we want to get into both of them. One is sort of the reporting breaking news, but then you're also a fan and you're opinionated, which is interesting because people who follow the NFL, guy like Adam Schefter doesn't give too much opinion, but I think it makes you kind of unique. And so I guess of the two, which do you like more? As a starting question, there must be a rush and an exhilaration from breaking news and getting stories, but then you also get to be a fan, so and opine on things. So
yeah, so the news breaking side of things, like you said, there is a rush, there is the competitive nature of it, and the relationships is something that I truly appreciate, because it's the best part, really. It's when you get to know people and when those things are happening, and then obviously the competitive side of getting a story when it happens. I do like that I'm able to straddle both. Maybe it'd be worse for me career-wise if maybe my opinions were worse than they are. I'm sure plenty of people assume that they are not so great, but it is nice to be able to do both. And yeah, but a guy like Adam Schefter, he and Adrian Wojnarowski, like, they have the luxury of how huge their leagues are and how huge their followings are and how busy they are, obviously, that all they have time to do is news, and all that makes sense for is news. So it is nice to be able to do both.
And how did you get into this? Like, how did this all start?
So the good news is I went down to Argentina when I was like 14 or 15 for some games, and I thought I was pretty good. We played River Plate's U15 academy, and I realized then and there I'm not going to make it pro. These kids are a different breed than me. So I say that was a good news, that was early enough for me to start figuring out some other things. And it's like, wait a minute, you can just write and talk about sports, and like, that's a job? Sign me up. So that's how I got into the business in general. And then through a confluence of hard work and good luck, end up at MLSsoccer.com. I had a boss who believed in me, saw a vision for me in news breaking. And not only did I not see this as a path, like I actively pushed against it when he first said, hey, like, I think you have a knack for this, because it was out of fear. It was, hey, you're only as good as your sources. And what if I can't keep those relationships? And part of it was a little ego. Like, oh no, man, like, I can watch a soccer game and have just, the best analysis, like tactically or otherwise. Right. And he's like, everybody does that. He's like, I think that the news side of things, I think that you could be special. And again, not only did I not plan for it, I pushed against it. So thank God that I had some smarter people around me.
Wow. Well, you talked about valued sources and trust. And I would imagine in your line of business that, like, that's it, if you don't have trust and relationships, you have nothing. And so what kind of came first? Was it your hard work and the respect that you gained that allowed sort of people to let you in? Was it fostering relationships outside of the workspace in the soccer world? Like, what do those kind of run parallel, or did one come before the other?
Yeah, probably the former more than the latter. Again, it's not like my baseline connections. Like, again, I played D3 soccer, right? It's not like that I had people that I was playing with that end up in MLS locker rooms or in front offices and stuff like that. So it was when I started writing, it's trying to ask the right questions, trying to be, again, I hate trying to explain this because it sounds like a beauty pageant answer. Like, it's not a great answer, but it like really is. Like, if I'm full of crap, people can see that, right? If I'm doing it for clout chasing, people can see that. Like, the relationship building is just that. Like, if you don't want to, if I'm not semi-enjoyable to talk to or able to build trust and not be selfish, then like, it's easy to just, you don't have to answer me, right? Like, so it is about building those relationships and being about the right things and trying to not only talking to sources when I'm looking for news, like talking to them because you care about them as people too.
Tom, can you take our fans behind the scenes, and you don't have to obviously give a specific example, but how this all comes about, right? So let's say a MLS team is going to sign a big European player, Son or Muller or something like that. And how do you go about getting this info? Do people offer it? Right? Are you constantly chasing it? I guess it's a mix of both, because organizations have motives too, right? And so can you just walk us through that process, and then also how you confirm, right? Because the last thing you really can do is get it wrong. Right, because I'm guessing that would be almost irreparable damage, right? So can you walk us through that process?
Exactly. And I live by that fear of if you're wrong once, it is irreparable
Yeah.
damage. Unfortunately, it does not always seem to be that case in the wider world of this, but I think it's a good rule for me to live by. A healthy amount of anxiety is what I try to operate with. So in these situations, yeah, it's always a mix of maybe you hear from somebody you heard from somebody, and then having those pre-existing relationships to be able to call anybody in any situation, whether it's here or in Europe, somebody who has direct knowledge of the negotiations of the deal or whatever, and having that level of respect and understanding that, like, yeah, Landon, there are motives sometimes. Like, that is part of the filtering when I hear something. Like, obviously, I don't report anywhere near everything that I hear because if I did, then I'd be hearing a whole lot more nonsense that people know that, oh, if I just tell him something, he'll run it. And like, we'll talk about like the Thomas Muller one and Son Heung-min. I was able to call a lot of, like, none of that is one source. Like, all of that is multiple sources. It's checking every detail, double checking, confirming, being careful. And on the Thomas Muller one, I was at my sister and brother-in-law's combined like 35th birthday party. I was gonna say a few words and give a speech, and all day, all morning, time zones, trying to be respectful of, all right, don't call somebody at 6:30 Pacific time. But, oh man, like, I really hope that I can get this confirmed before the party. And then I have somebody, one of my sources, like the last person I needed to talk to, like texted me and goes like, hey, I can call you now if you're good. And like, I'm about to like kind of
So
go,
good.
and I was like, man, I can't. My sister and brother, I care so deeply about them. It's like, man, I'm not gonna walk away and take a call and do this, but I give they say a few words and then do a toast, and then I just immediately run outside. My sister, she's a huge soccer fan, huge fan of this show, so I'm sure she's listening to this. I like turned to her and I was like, Muller, Vancouver. She was like, what?
That's amazing.
And somebody comes outside to like say like, oh, like that was so nice, and I have AirPods in, and I'm like, get the F away from me! Stop! I need 5 minutes. Like, please leave me alone. So it's tough with the work-life balance. But
what's your sister's name?
Jess.
Jess, thank you for allowing him to say a few words and then break the story. Yeah. So I said I had questions. One of my questions before we get into some of the meaty topics, just kind of on what you do, you touched on this. So I'm always curious on competition in your world, right? So one question is about competition. The other question is about how many sources. So my first question is, you get a story, right? What happens if you have this breaking story and someone breaks it like 10 minutes before you? It's kind of irrelevant at that point. And do you just take the L, as the kids say? And number two, when you get a big story and you have levels, like there's a big story and there's a big story. How many, once you get that information, how many sources do you personally feel like, all right, I have to tick 2 boxes, I have to tick 4 boxes before I release it? Like, what's that like?
So on the first one, I think it's really, really important to give credit when somebody else is first. And the only sliding scale there is if there's somebody that I know either jumped the gun on something before it was actually, like, that's the only time that I won't give credit if somebody's before me. But I do think that's pretty foundational, and it's not really the case in big European soccer. It's getting a little better, but I look at the people who came before me and the people who are still here. Obviously, Grant Wall, one of my favorite things about him, and then I think everybody in the American soccer media has a story with him where he was open to talking to or whatever. He was always somebody that if you wrote a good story or did a good thing, it didn't matter if you were air quote a competitor or if you worked with him. He would go out of his way to say, hey, that was good. And I think that really set the bar for a lot of us. You have Matt Doyle at MLSsoccer.com, and he's one of my mentors. And then, Paul Tenorio and Sam Stagego were, the two biggest newsbreakers as I was coming in. Those guys looked out for me. They helped me out. They still give me advice whenever I need it and whenever I ask. And they laid a foundation that I feel really strongly about is, hey, like, you got to give credit. You got to do things the right way and appreciate other people's work because you want it the same way for you. So on that, and also for me, I hope that I've established enough trust where, like, now, even if I'm not first, like, obviously I always want to be first, but what is most important is being 100% completely correct. And part of it is, even if somebody does break it before me, my stamp of approval does carry some weight. So again, I want to be first on every single story, and I want it to always be right. But that's also part of it. And then the second question on, it's always multiple sources and it's primary sources. So sometimes I am able and privy to see documents, which can help lessen the burden of, picking a number of sources. And the good news, I try to stick to just things that are factual. Like obviously you have to report on things that can't be proven, but that's why player signings are the best, because it's like, hey, whatever spin somebody wants to say, is this player signing or are they not?
Mhm.
Whereas in some of the more sensitive stuff, that's the higher number of sources, because somebody might not even be trying to spin you. Somebody might not even be trying to say something that's not totally true. Everybody has a different level of perspective on how they experience something. So
Right.
you really need to hammer down every little detail and make sure you hear it from a number of people when it's something like that. Whereas the signing is, okay, it's a fact or not.
Yeah.
Is there ever a time where you have a source that has been 100% right every time over 50 different transactions or whatever, and they say, hey, this is done, and you'll go with it because you trust them? Or do you have to then verify it?
Yeah, it's still verify it, but that definitely informs my next phone call rather
Mhm.
than, hey, I heard this, or like,
Mhm.
no, I know this is happening. It's going to come out one way or another. So
Mm.
that definitely helps. And like, I think I was lucky where some of my first relationships in this business, I was quickly able to tell, all right, who's full of crap and who's real. And I have a lot of real ones that are in my inner circle, which is good.
Do you ever
Great.
ask yourself,
Yeah.
why? I always wonder this. Why in some situations are people reaching out to you to give you information? Like I asked this with Fabrizio Romano, right? Not of him, but just in my mind,
Mhm.
I say, why are these teams telling him? And why are they telling him first? And so like I don't understand the value. And can you just help me understand from the team perspective? Because it's not like it's so beneficial for them to have this news broken all the time, right? So why do they do it?
Yeah, and I'll say for Fabrizio, I mean, he has 27 million followers on X. I think that's usually a good reason to, particularly for smaller clubs, to have their name. Like,
Because
I
that
know
gets
that's
them relevance, or right?
people are significantly more likely, and again, I'm talking about him, not for me. Very, very different levels, again, in terms of following. For him, you're significantly more likely to see a Bayer Leverkusen signing on Fabrizio Romano's Twitter than going to like Bayer Leverkusen's, unless that you're a big fan. So I think that, and again, I'm using that club as just the first one that
Sure.
came to mind rather than something nefarious. So yeah, there are different ways. So one is and yes, there are angles and stuff. I get it. I'm not naive to that, but there are some times where like if I call somebody or somebody like that comes with relationships rather than, oh, there's a motive here, that there's some sort of spin. But on some of them, it's like, hey, it is beneficial for, like, I'm going to tell you about something that you don't know yet. And as I'm telling you, you're going to get my perspective on it. So that's
Mhm.
probably how it seems like at some things. And
Mm.
there's things that like the teams can't announce, or agents or players or whatever. Like you can't be 100% truthful in press releases. So it helps kind of
Right.
inform some things
Mm.
that they can't totally say. But again, I do think part of it is they also know in this day and age that a lot of things are going to get out. Might as
Right.
well be with somebody you trust.
Yeah,
That's
fair
a good
enough.
point.
So Tom, let's move. When this episode gets released on Tuesday, people will be listening to this either probably right before or right after the national team plays Japan. Just got done this weekend with U.S. playing Korea, losing 2-0. More opinion here than anything breaking or any news, but state of U.S. soccer as a general comment. Someone who has followed, we followed it, we were in it, we follow it intensely from our viewpoint, but from someone who's genuinely grew up as a fan and played D3 soccer and now reports on it, just what's your view on it? And we'll say the men's team. We'll say the men's team of U.S. soccer.
It's a big sigh. It's sometimes it's ambivalence, sometimes it's apathy. It is rarely optimistic and positive at the moment. You just go back and look. So outside of the Gold Cup, 5 losses in a row, and these are World Cup quality opponents. Under Mauricio Pochettino, they've played 15 matches outside, like discounting January camps because that's not a FIFA break. The U.S. national team should always be winning January camps, and I don't think that's fair to add to this. Of those 15 other games in FIFA windows, they've lost 7. The wins are against Jamaica twice, Panama, I believe Honduras, Trinidad
Haiti.
and Tobago. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, Haiti. It's a lot of Gold
Mhm.
Cup group stage, and it's just not good enough right now. And beyond the results, because you could argue like, hey, they're friendlies. Like, I don't totally buy. Like, you have to get at some point. It has to be about results, right? But you could argue, all right, the underlying. What is it looking like? What is the progress? What is the style? You guys tell me. What is one defining stylistic feature that this team is trying to accomplish? Because I can't see one defining thing. It's not pressing. It's not transition. It's not possession. It's not defending deep. It's not route one. It's not set pieces. I don't know how to describe this team. And I think that's the first thing that's so disappointing for me. And the second thing is, honestly, since your guys' generation, like the Bob Bradley era with you guys, my favorite part of those teams where you guys had plenty of talent. There's no disrespect at all. You always played beyond the sum of your parts. When was the last time that a U.S. national team, not just under Pochettino, but previously, when's the last time the national team has played beyond the sum of its parts?
Yeah.
That's actually a great way to say it, Tom. I hadn't thought about that. Tim and I we don't need to go down to memory lane, but there are dozens and dozens of games where collectively we played better than we were individually and got results against teams that we had no business getting results against. And so when you were going through those stylistic, are there any definitive stylistic changes? No, but even for me, more than that, just from an attitude perspective, I don't see any continuity or definitive way of playing just from a care standpoint. And that's, it's interesting just to hear from someone who's in a different part of this world and who's also a fan. And I guess you probably have friends and people you talk to all the time. Is that a common thread and feeling amongst them as well that you hear?
Yes, it is. And again, I try to be careful on that side for myself because you guys, former players and legends of this program, you guys are the people that I want to hear from if it's about, effort or care or attitude, right? Like I don't, that's not my expertise, right? But fans, like you said, friends, that's what I hear a lot. And again, it matters. It carries the most weight coming from former players and legends and everything else. But again, that is definitely the feeling from the fan base, even if it's just anecdotally, but I feel pretty strongly in that.
I don't disagree with any of that. The one problem for me that I see, so talk about stylistically and identity. I was very quick in the Gold Cup to say, I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see a bit of flexibility and expansiveness and, kind of fullback rolling inside, which is all in vogue in football. But then it begged, when I look at the broader picture, I'm saying these are opponents that we're going to dominate naturally. Like before we step on the field, look at the team sheet. We're the better team by a million miles. We're going to have most of the ball. So that's great. Then the concern then comes in on games we're up against it. Or we're not dominating possession, although against South Korea we did have the better of the possession. But overall, in games that are going to be, we just know we're going to be really hard to win. That's then where I'm like, okay, what is then our identity? And by the way, you can have multiple ways of playing, right, in order to get results. So I think that's where the concern comes in, because I do see the identity when we are, as you mentioned, playing Gold Cup opponents, playing CONCACAF opponents. But in the bigger matchups, do we have enough moxie? Do we have enough quality, really, to be that expansive group and to try and press the game and put our stamp on it? And the answer is probably no, and that's okay. So then what is the way to then get the performance and get the result? And that we're not quite seeing that yet.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that was even going back to the previous regime, that was some of my criticisms. It was like, it's great to want to dominate in maybe World Cup qualifying or Gold Cup and having the ball. It's like, all right, well, like when you scale that to the group, even the group stage at the World Cup, for sure, the knockout rounds, it's like, all right, well, you're not going to do that against England, Holland, Argentina, Brazil, whoever. So what does this look like at the higher scale? And speaking to players this week leading into the game, several of them were like, like we want to play high energy, we want to press, we want to be, and like I think that makes the most sense for this group. So hopefully we'll start to see that again. If I've been so pessimistic here and negative, I hope I want to end on some sort of positive view moving forward, even though the time is running out. Hopefully we can see some of that, and hopefully like Anthony Robinson has been a big miss over however many months he's been away from the team due to injury. So that'll help, and hopefully when Weston McKennie is back in the team, and I just hope to see some more continuity and some more underlying performance when the group is totally available. But even the caveat to that is we've been saying since 2021 when the group is totally available, and you can't plan on that, and it needs to be better.
You mentioned Weston McKennie. Do you think there's a path back for him? Is that something that, he's obviously been left off this roster? Is there a thought that there's space for him or desire for him to be back within the group?
Yeah, I certainly think so. And Pochettino did strike a tone. He was like, hey, we know what Weston is. Like, we wanted to bring in some other guys to give them a chance or whatever, right? Like, so I'm firmly expecting him to be back in the near future. And hopefully this, again, I don't know if this was completely like a, hey, I'm trying to send a message, not even maybe just to Weston, but to everybody. Hey, like, your spot isn't guaranteed. You got to show up. You got to train well. You got to do all this stuff. But I'm firmly expecting him back in the future, but we'll see.
I just, the interesting part, and Landon knows how I feel about the comment, we know what he can do. Because I think it's a little bit of a let off because, England, who I hold in very high regard because I played there and I know the players and I think they're, constantly a top 5 team in the world. That's an unacceptable comment. Like if you're a Premier League player and you're Harry Kane, right? He's the captain, so probably not a great example, right? But if you're a starting player for England, you would never accept Tuchel or prior to that Southgate saying, "Oh, we're not going to call Harry in because we know what he's going to do." You'd say, well, one, the manager never says that, and two, if he told me that, I would never let him say it publicly, and I would demand that I'm coming into camp. So it's a little bit of a free pass for me when it comes to the manager saying those things, because again, to what you said, what millions of people have been saying, and what Landon and I have been saying, when we get our best team, Weston McKennie is part of our best team. And if he's available and he's fit, he has to be in. So that's the only caveat to that.
And hey, we're 7 to 9 months away from the World Cup.
Yeah.
Maybe now's not the time to be experimenting. The experiments should be on a much, Weston McKennie should be part of this team. And I didn't hate like Tristan Blackman getting a debut. Like, I think he's earned it. Mm-hmm. I think you put him next to Chris Richards because Chris Richards is going to be the 1A starting center back for this team.
Right.
Experiments, you don't learn enough if there's not enough controls around. And again, this is a better argument for a couple years before the World Cup. Like it should be finding out who is my best 11 and trying to play them as much as possible in all of these games. So it's been disappointing.
Yes.
We appreciate it, Tom, and we look forward to having you back again, man. Thank you.
That'd be great. Appreciate the kind words, guys. It means the world.
All right, Tim. Hidden amongst all the U.S. chatter, there were some MLS games this weekend. 3 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Chicago beat New England 3-2. Your Dynamo tied my Galaxy. Very, very, very late draw by the Galaxy. St. Louis, Dallas tied 1-1. Sporting Kansas City 1, Austin 2. Timmy, it's time for the Unfiltered Refresh, sponsored by Coors Light. Choose chill. Get Coors Light delivered. Go to CoorsLight.com/USLNT. This man, St. Louis, Dallas. So Dallas go away to St. Louis. Yep. In the 16th minute, starting goalkeeper for Dallas, Michael Collodi, was sent off. So who comes in? His backup, Jacob Jackson, 25-year-old Jacob Jackson. Great name. St. Louis went on to attempt, listen to this, I've never heard this, 43 shots. 43 shots, and the final score ended 1-1. Yeah. According to the website FotMob, Jackson prevented 2.42 goals on the saves he made. 43 shots. This man came in cold off the bench. Boy, did he choose chill. He was choosing chill on the bench. He really chose chill in the game and gets the tie.
When I heard about this, I watched it back. And like all of the saves kind of in like a compilation. And I just thought, good on you, man. Because by the way, that's hard to do when like you're a starting goalkeeper. It's even harder to do when you get that like taser on the bench when the guy gets a red card. You're like, oh no, my boots are untied. I don't know where my gloves are. Who's got my shirt? I got to pull my shin guard. Like it is. And then I get warmed up. So to be fair to Jacob Jackson, really well done for choosing chill because I mean, he made some good saves, by the way. He made some really good saves. And to have 43 shots, I don't even know how many were on target, but either way, that's a great performance. 1-1.
I always say, Tim, too, like you never know how a career is going to take off. Yeah. You might get that one moment, and like maybe he now gets a shutout in the next game, and all of a sudden he's a starting goalkeeper, and then you have a start. It's crazy how these things happen. It happens fast. So congrats to you, Jacob Jackson. And the last time we saw a performance like that was Tim Howard against Belgium in the World Cup. So cheers, Jacob Jackson. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll dive into your questions in the AT&T Fan Connection. Ooh, I'm assuming they're going to be spicy this week, Tim. Right here on Unfiltered Soccer with Landon and Tim, presented by Volkswagen. Stay right there.
LD, let me tell you about this time recently, this weekend, that I chose chill. You'll appreciate this more than most. Game ends at Anfield. I'm walking out. Bunch of fans walked past me. Unfortunately, I had to walk through some very lively Liverpool supporters, shall we say. And someone very nicely asked me for a picture. So, sure, why not? I took a picture. And then an autograph. And then they very cheekily said, "You'll never walk alone," and walked away and giggled. And I thought now is a moment. It's best you choose chill. Get me back to the hotel so I can have a cold Coors Light. Thank you very much.
As always, when you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill. Crack open a cold Coors Light.
Make the most of the times you choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/USLNT.
Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Beer.
There's nothing better than feeling like someone has your back and that things are going to get done without you even having to ask.
Like fans who start to sing and chant at the exact moment their team needs to rally.
A coach who can change strategies at halftime to help their team win.
A keeper you know is defending your goal.
Or a forward who is always ready to receive the ball.
At Unfiltered Soccer, Tim and I know all too well how important it is to be sure someone out there has your back. And that's precisely why AT&T has a new guarantee.
The AT&T guarantee is all about having your back. When you're with AT&T, if there's a network interruption, they'll proactively make it right with a credit for a full day of service, guaranteed.
Visit att.com/guarantee to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Credit for fiber downtime lasting 20 minutes or more, or wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
It's time for the Fan Connection presented by AT&T. Every week we invite you, the listener, to connect with us by submitting your questions. The best way to grow the game of soccer in the U.S. is to keep asking questions and keep talking about the sport we all love. At AT&T, connecting changes everything. And on USLNT, our connections with you will help grow the game. Time now for the AT&T Fan Connection. This is where we get to interact with all of our fans, questions, comments, concerns, and also Jordan gets to have her airtime, which she loves. Jordan, what's happening?
I wonder if there are any concerns.
What is that? Is that a Spice Girls shirt?
Okay, let me tell you about this shirt that I'm wearing right now. Okay. Amazing. This is a collab that Admiral did with the Spice Girls for their 25th anniversary. The Spice Girls turned 25. And so, yeah, they did this for the women's Euros this summer, and I had to get one.
Dope. I'm down for the Spice Girls. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But who is it? Like, is it a team? National
team? No, it's just the Spice Girls. It's got I think it's the 25th anniversary of Spice World specifically. So it has the logo and it says 25 and Spice on the back.
That's
too.
Amazing.
So, yeah. And I like the little, like the dots and all the colors.
Gingham? Yeah,
it's very cool.
You got some cool shirts.
Mm-hmm.
What's gingham? You're out of touch with the people.
Lord.
You're out of touch with the people, man. You just have to look that up.
Landon, what are you wearing?
It's so cool, huh?
Yes. I looked it up. It is a 2006 U.S. men's national team special jersey for when you guys played Latvia in a friendly before the World Cup.
Was it in Hartford, Connecticut?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
No, that was Venezuela.
No?
I don't have the location on this.
It was in Hartford.
Blurb I'm reading.
I'm sure Kyle will have it in the next 6 seconds.
Yes. Kyle is on our production team. And
I'm almost positive it was Hartford. Jordan, lots of optimistic emails to you this week, I presume?
Okay, so here's something that happened this week in the email. I would say I actually had a little bit of a struggle putting together the mailbag this week because most of the fans did not want to ask you any questions. They just wanted to shout about the U.S. men's national team.
Totally fine.
So
shout it out.
Therapy. Jordan's your therapist.
I'm not making enough money for that. Okay, so I will say, generally speaking, the consensus is pretty much consistent, whether people wrote in via email or they commented on our Instagram. I would say the people who are the most pessimistic about the U.S. men's national team are saying that we're not going to make it out of the group stage, which Tim and Landon will tell you in the group chat. I believe I said the same thing on Saturday night. I was like, we're getting cooked. We're getting cooked next summer.
A little dramatic. We're going to be fine.
We also have had several requests for the two of you to come out of retirement post haste. Lace up your boots, get in there, and help the guys out. But we did have some questions, and so let's take a look at some of them. The first one is from Brian via email. As a side note, Brian would like to know whether or not I ever made Landon the playlist. I did. Landon found it to be a little scary. Yep.
Dark.
Hey, because you hear that one song, that teenage song or whatever. It's like fun and upbeat, and then I got through it. I was like, this is dark.
Landon's now worried about me personally.
As you should be.
Brian wants to know if I can add some A Day to Remember to. So Landon, I guess we're making you like a pop punk playlist now. Maybe we'll find some more upbeat stuff
for you. Send it my way.
Brian says, so many times the U.S. play for the first time during a tournament or international break, they are either slow or look exhausted. Could the travel for the players abroad have an effect on their performance? What was your guys' experience like when traveling during a brief international break, especially when you have to go to multiple cities? Does U.S. soccer need to have a better system in place for that?
Tim?
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely giving it thought. It's a good question. The being sluggish because of travel isn't a real thing. They have enough time and they have enough opportunities, and some of them will fly private. And players in England and Europe have to go to Asia and Australia as well, and South America. By the way, we don't talk about Brazil being sluggish.
Further, yeah.
We don't talk about Brazil and Argentina being sluggish. That's not really a thing. What was the second part of the question?
What was your experience like? And does U.S. soccer need to have a better system in place?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think part of it is we don't have a national stadium. When you go to England, you just land in London. They're already, a lot of them are there, but you play in one particular place. I mean, U.S. soccer essentially should have had a national stadium or one that they called their own on the East Coast, just because of the proximity to Europe and other places. But given the landscape of our country, we have had to promote soccer in all corners, and so you have to kind of share alike. So you've had to kind of diversify what stadiums you're going to play in. So I get that. That's the difficult part.
This doesn't have to do with U.S. soccer. This is you as an individual taking care of your body first and foremost. So the minute, and I mean the minute, your game is over on Saturday or Sunday and you're in Europe, you are in full recover mode. That's not a lot of times after the game, you go out, you drink, you do whatever. That's not the time. You're in full recovery mode. They're flying in business class, first class. They can lie down. By the way, all the Korean team plays in Europe too. So there's no excuse there. Right. So it's not easy. It's not ideal. But also FIFA changed these windows. So now when you play Saturday, you fly in Sunday. You have all the way till, do they play Thursday or Friday? A lot of times it's Friday, Tuesday. I think they played Friday, right?
They played Saturday.
Or did they play Saturday?
Yeah.
They played Saturday. Yeah, so even more. I mean, that is enough time. You're not going to be perfect, but you're an elite athlete. Yes. Take care of your body. So that's not an excuse. So I don't, it's a good question. And it used to be where you would fly Sunday and play Wednesday. Now that's a real thing. God. But Sunday to Saturday that's not an issue.
No. Can I just go ahead?
I was just going to say, we don't play outside the U.S. either.
Very rarely. We used to play a lot of games in Europe.
Yeah. So so what about the players who maybe play for the Korean national team who do play in Asia, who had to come here?
Correct.
Right? So
that was my first thought. The goalkeeper, I think, plays in Asia, and that's a beast of a trip.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Brian, I'm not trying to ask your question.
No, but the other side of that, which you I don't know how many times on loan you experienced this, but the other side of that was we would play. You were talking about the FIFA window, so we'd play on the Wednesday, right? Late, okay. So that meant the flight back to Europe wasn't until Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
So I would land back every window. I would land back in Manchester on Friday morning. Like zero sleep on the plane, right? I'd land back Friday morning, and I was who I was at Everton. So I was playing on Saturday, right? Like David Moyes was basically like, if you need anything in that medical bag, ingest it or get it injected. But you're playing. I knew I was playing Saturday, and so literally, I wouldn't. There's sometimes I would land in Manchester on Friday, and he'd say, just go to bed. Like, don't turn up at training. Sometimes he'd say, come and get a warm down, because I didn't get really a warm down necessarily from the game, right? Because we were out on Thursday. There was no US team warm down on Thursday. And then I would turn up being jet lagged and just get through the 90 minutes. And it was like hell. It was like, just get through this 90 minutes. So the reverse was like so difficult. Anyway.
That was brutal.
Brutal. Next question.
This one's from Randy via email. I'm writing as I was at the U.S. men's national team versus Korea game in Harrison, New Jersey on Saturday, and I was struck by the number of Korean fans in attendance. The announced attendance was a sold-out 26,000 people at Sports Illustrated Stadium, and about 20,000 of them must have supported Korea. Most were well-behaved, although one kept yelling pretty disgusting things at the team and made my 9-year-old son cry. I'm sorry, Randy, that sucks. But their impact on the game was pretty apparent. The Korean players really responded to their energy. How can we as a fan base build that energy and momentum for our team? I'll say the ticket prices were astronomical, and at that price, it's probably the only game we'll be able to attend due to the cost.
So many thoughts on this.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. It is about cost, and here's why. So when I was in, where was I? I was in Denver, right? And I had this conversation, and Mexico played somebody at the football stadium in Denver. It's been a bunch of different sponsors' name. At one time, it was Mile High Stadium, essentially, right? So they weren't playing in our soccer stadium, which was Dick's Sporting Park. This was Mile High, and this thing, LD, it was like Mexico versus Venezuela or Colombia or somebody, and this thing, bro, was packed like to the gills, and it's a big stadium. So I said to someone like, these Mexican fans and the other fans, who they were, I said, they're in our community, by the way. They're not coming from Idaho or Chicago. I said, they're in Denver. I said, so why aren't they coming to our stadium? And the guy and the person who was obviously I was talking to was basically like, yeah, because this is like Mexico's playing in Denver. Like, this is their Super Bowl. Like, they're so excited to see their team, right? Because it's kind of a one-off, right? And so we see that a lot. You know, South Korea comes to the New York, New Jersey area. That entire community is like buzzing beyond belief to see, because they're only going to really pay for that moment and that spectacle one time, right? And I think we see that. And to I think it was Randy, to his point, these tickets are expensive, right? So you're pretty much willing to splurge on that once, right, to see your favorite team and your favorite players ever. It's a lot more difficult paying for travel and paying for tickets to see your team multiple times. And I think that's what the U.S. soccer fans are running into. I don't know if that was as accurate, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, I think it's probably a mix of a lot of things right now. There's just not that inspiring to go watch. I mean, at the end of the day, it's entertainment, Tim, and people forget that. But like, would you pay money, really good money, to go see that? Maybe not, but like at their best, yeah, you would go pay because it's exciting, it's entertaining, etc. Someone at U.S. Soccer a long time ago said to me, Landon, I don't care where the people come from or who they are, as long as the stadium's full. And from U.S. Soccer's standpoint, they're ecstatic at the stadium. They could care less if there were 6,000 or 25,000 American fans there. They just trying to bring in the money. And so they said, I don't care if they're from Mexico or Nigeria or Argentina or America. As long as the stadium's full, that's all we care about. And I was like, okay, fair enough.
As a player, I would second that as a player, by the way. Like I prefer to play.
I agree. I'd rather just be full.
Packed stadiums, even if they were against me, which sucked, but I would rather that.
Yeah.
This is the only country in the world where that happens, though.
100%.
Right?
100%.
Is it the only? I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
Probably, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the beauty of America too, right? Like Where else can you go where there's 30,000 South Koreans in a community outside of South Korea, right? Yeah.
I know this is like a very naive thing for me to say, but like, I would like to believe that's a reason why the World Cup is here, because there's already people who are supporting all of those countries.
Of course.
You know?
That's why the Club World Cup was here. That's why Copa America's here. It's it's all part of it.
Okay, Joe via email said, as a fan, I agree with Landon and Tim on the current state with the U.S. men's national team. Can you give us your thoughts on the current youth system? And are we now seeing the effects of pay-to-play culture filtering in? Helicopter parents, players boycotting, players being coddled, etc. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Also, Joe wanted me to know that this is the third time he sent in a question, and I haven't let him ask one yet. So
yes, Joe, persistence pays off. Look, I'll dive straight in. The youth system in America, Landon and I have talked about this ad nauseum. We'll continue. The youth system in America is just flat broke. The pay-to-play model is so firmly entrenched; it will never be replaced. It could be subsidized somehow, but it's not going anywhere, and it's failing our kids miserably. Landon and I were lucky. We were very, very good, very, very good at a young age. People looked the other way on payments, and we got the rub of the green. My daughter, again, I've mentioned it before, she comes from an affluent family, and she has worked her butt off, but she has also had help in getting to ECNL tournaments and all the rest of those things. It's broken. It's broken at its core, which is essentially why we don't produce really good young talent. Simple.
It's like when someone asks you to respond to something on Twitter and you have 140 or 280 characters, and it's like, it's going to take 280,000 characters. Yeah. And we've talked about this for a long, we will have dedicated youth soccer episodes in the future. But to answer your question directly, yes, you are seeing now the manifestation of all of those things: coddling parents, pay to play, poor coaching, greedy youth clubs, U.S. soccer, a few people at U.S. soccer thinking they know what's best for the country. There was an article, again, in The Athletic this week by Harry Bushnell about, what Matt Crocker is trying to do. Yeah, I'm going to bite my tongue there for a minute, but we'll get into this at some point. But there's just a lot of clueless people who have no idea what they're doing. And well, I shouldn't say that. They have an idea of what they're doing to make money and to profit. They do not have the best interest of American soccer development at heart, and they don't. And that's just the reality. And you can say it's good or bad or whatever. That is the reality, and we'll dive into that more for sure at some point.
All right. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarah.
Go Spice Girl.
Go Spice Girls.
Oh, man, what an episode. Okay, Tim, got through a lot today. Thanks to Tom Bogert. He was great. Great questions again from JR. All the dissection of the U.S. game. Let us hope that the live stream on Wednesday is full of excitement and energy and optimism. Sports are funny, man. One good result, one good performance can turn things around. So let's hope so. Thank you guys, as always, for being with us. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. And as always, follow on social media, just like you probably did this week with our live interpretation of what happened after the game on Saturday at Unfiltered Soccer. That's where all our bonus content lives.
Yeah, LD, I echo that. Tom was fantastic. Tom Bogert, appreciate you for being open and honest, being very, very insightful. It helps our listeners and certainly helps us, which was really cool. Thanks for all of your questions, comments, and concerns, and the passion in which you interact with us. It's pretty special how much you love soccer and love our U.S. men's national team, of course, and all of our national teams. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, VW, our Fan Connection sponsor, AT&T, our Unfiltered Refresh sponsor, Coors Light, as well as Café Bustelo and Virgin Atlantic. Have a great week. We'll see you for the live stream on Wednesday, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another edition of Unfiltered Soccer.